Lily Madwhip, Must Die, Chapter 27, Death Becomes Her. The four of us arrive at the fairgrounds via portal a potty from the Vale. The carnival is dark and quiet. All the string lights are off and the toy-filled game booths locked shut. The sky is clouded over, hiding the stars. To the east, it's turning from black to deep blue and purple. The sun is probably moments away from peeking over the horizon. Dumas holds the latrine door for me, my dirt-based magic copy. And Meredith, in Mr. Jin's body. He doesn't say a word, and even though he has no face, just a slightly yellowing skull, he gives off this heavy sadness that I can't quite put into words. Meredith places a hand on his shoulder. He doesn't acknowledge it. We walk in silence through the carnival. Occasionally, I spot movement out of the corner of my eye. It's other people. They pass us without noticing. A heavy-set man in suspenders and big rubber boots, his arms gripping an awkward-looking box with labels I can't read. With him are a thin man with a funny little hat that doesn't sit right on his head, and two ladies in sequined leotards, each holding a cup of steaming liquid I assume is coffee. Adults love their coffee. Eventually, we reach Madame Gwendolyn's trailer. There's a light on inside, and the door is shut against the chilly night air. The poster of Felix and Joey has been torn off, but the tape remains, each still dutifully holding one of the four corner pieces. Dumas brushes past us, moving to the front, then turns to look down at me with his empty sockets. You can seek. I feel the weight lift from inside my throat. Other Lily gives a clearing cough. Meredith practices like she forgot how talking works, making little me sounds. She nods, Mr. Jin's head in acknowledgement that her voice is back. This causes it to fall off his neck with a gross, peeling sound and land in the grass with a thump. Oh, she says with a hint of embarrassment. She pivots Mr. Jin's headless body toward the ground and starts feeling around in the grass, while whatever section of her is still inside his head maneuvers his eyes in their sockets to watch. I try to imagine what it must be like to try to control your hands to find your own head when you're watching from an entirely different angle. Dumas also watches Meredith blindly groping the ground. I need to stitch the head back on that body. Yes, please, says Meredith as Mr. Jin's hands finally find his face. Watching her ghost move Mr. Jin's mouth and make it talk gets me thinking. How is she doing that? There's things called vocal cords that are in a person's neck that need to be connected in order to make mouth sounds, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Jin's vocal cords got shredded like Parmesan cheese on a delicious pile of spaghetti. Damn, I'm hungry. Meredith stands up and holds still while Dumas does his hand magic and welds the head back onto the unappetizing, bloody stump at the top of the neck. When he's done, you can see that the flesh didn't go back together quite right, not after 2 times getting ripped apart, and there's a funny ring of jagged lumps right above Mr. Jin's collarbone. Did it hurt? I ask Meredith as she feels the results with his fingers. I can't feel anything. You're lucky, I tell her. I remember how badly it hurt when Samael had that thing mend my tummy stab wound. I got patched up by a lady in black called a flesh stitcher. It felt like I was burning alive. The Draugr, Dumas says sadly. I taught them everything they know. They were meant to be caregivers, but Samael, his voice cracks at his brother's name. He took them and tossed them in the pit, twisted them to cooperate with those ghastly demons, sewing souls into bags of their own flesh and such. I never understood the rationale behind it. Meredith swallows loudly. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. Dumas seems oblivious to Meredith's discomfort. He stares into the distance as the first glimmer of sunlight breaches the horizon. His voice becomes a whisper. It's not the worst treatment. There's a certain chamber in one of the lower levels of the pit that Belphegor has dedicated to boiling feces. He snaps out of his trance and puts a bony hand on Dirt Lily's head. She looks at me in annoyed confusion. I shrug at her. We should get going, I remind him, mainly trying to save us from any more grisly descriptions of how the pit works. Dumas opens the trailer door without knocking and ushers us into the main cabin. Inside, we find Madame Wendy and Mr. Dutch. Madame Wendy sits in a rocking chair, wrapped from head to toe in a big checkered blanket. She looks like she's aged another 20 years. Her eyes are closed and she's snoring, with a bit of drool running down her chin. Mr. Dutch is pacing back and forth in a long coat like cowboys wear in cowboy movies. He's fidgeting with something underneath it, and when he turns at our arrival, I see it's one of those shoulder-strapped gun holsters. Holy shit, Mr. Dutch says in a loud, whispered voice. It's you! You're back! In the... His voice goes up an octave as he looks at Dumas' bony Skeletor face. Dash, dash, flesh! You came back. He sees me and Dirt Lily, and his hands start to tremble, reflexively reaching for the gun tucked in his armpit. You caught him? Samuel? Samael is dead, says Duma. There's grief in his voice that I've never heard before, not even moments ago when he was talking about his flesh stitchers getting used for bad stuff. Mr. Dutch's big, hairy brow furrows as he looks at me and my dirt golem. But there's two of her again. Yes, that's part of why we're here, Duma tells him. He turns to acknowledge the two of us standing beside him. We're going to get rid of one of them. Madame Wendy gives a loud snort that startles all of us except Dumas, but then she mumbles something groggily and continues snoring. Mr. Dutch pets her head gently. I gave her a sedative. If you please, Dumas says, extending his hand out to the man. Relinquish your firearm to our friend here. He gestures to Meredith and lets his words sink in for a moment. Before we arrived, we contacted a law enforcement associate of Miss Madwhip, who is right now on his way. His empty sockets burn in Dirt Lily's direction. We need to give him a show, to tie up all the loose ends. Mr. Dutch pulls the gun out of its holster. His hand trembles as he turns it over to Meredith, who plucks it from him and holds it like it's going to bite her. Now, Francis Rutherford Dutch. Duma looms over the man in an unthreatening way. You once offered us your help. To what ends are you willing to go? Any, the grown man responds, cringing away from Duma's towering form. Whatever you need from me. I will serve you, even if it means setting aside all earthly possessions and committing yourself, body and soul, to protecting this child. He waves a hand at me and smacks me in the face by accident, since I'm right there, and this trailer is cramped with 6 of us in it. Mr. Dutch hesitates. I don't think he was prepared for the question. What do you mean? We failed, Mr. Dutch, the Angel of Death says grimly. Samael is gone, but his machinations have grown fruit. Even as we stand here, unspeakable horrors that haven't seen the light of day in millennia are loose upon this world. Every nightmare ever imagined. The universe as you knew it is gone. Well, what? Mr. Dutch clutches his chest, digging his fingers into the fabric of his shirt. The poor man is either having a heart attack or an alien is about to burst out of his chest. Of course, the way things are now, both seem completely possible. I don't say this, though, because he seems to be steadying himself with his other hand, and maybe it's not a heart attack after all. In which case, I don't want to give him one by suggesting that an alien could pop out of him for realsies. Duma swats me accidentally with his hand again, right across my eyes. Shit, I hiss. Lillian must be protected. From all harm, she is needed in order to send the dream Fae back. Without her, well, he places his phalanges on my noggin like he did to my dirt golem earlier. I feel him tussling my hair. It doesn't change the soreness in my face from being slapped twice. It will be a lot more difficult. I can see the gears turning in Mr. Dutch's meatball. After a minute of awkward silence, he slowly kneels down in front of Duma, bowing his head. Yes, I accept this responsibility. Dawn's first rays come through the curtains like a spotlight in the middle of a 3-ring circus. Particles of dust dance like fairy lights around Mr. Dutch. Only Madame. Wendy's phlegm-caked snoring breaks the mood. Then, rise, Sir Francis, Duma tells the kneeling man, and prepare yourself for the journey ahead. Pack light. Think highway to heaven, I add, rubbing my nose, or the Incredible Hulk. Mr. Dutch gives me a puzzled look as he stands back up. I don't think he watches a lot of TV. He leans down and presses his lips gently on Madame Wendy's sleeping forehead. Then, without another word, brushes past us toward the door and outside. After he's gone, Duma takes the rocking chair, with the sleeping fortune teller curled up in it, and scoots it around so she's facing the wall. I don't know what Mr. Dutch gave her, but it's certainly doing its job. The angel of death in silence turns to me and my dirt counterpart. Are you sure you want to do this? He asks both of me. I clench my jaw. I don't want to go back to the foster center. I look at Dirt Lily. She seems distant, not really there. I can't blame her. Maybe her whole life is flashing before her eyes. My eyes. Could she live a good life if we let her? Do you? She finally feels my stare and glances at me. There's something glistening in the corner of her eye, but she says nothing, just nods. Then she realizes what she just did and quickly stutters. I mean, no. I don't either. So be it. Dumas turns his attention to Meredith, who has gone from pinching the gun by its handle between thumb and forefinger to turning it over and over in his hand like some sort of puzzle box. Meredith, once this is done, I will take you home. Home? She scrunches up Jin's forehead. I'm not staying with Lily and Dutch? The realization of what this means suddenly dawns on her, and panic fills the eyes her ghost is hiding behind. No, I don't want to go. I don't want to be dead. You're already dead, child. I'm sorry. Remember that your family is waiting to be with you again. On the fields of light, Meredith drops the gun to the floor. But this is my family. She tramps Jin's body over and wraps his arms around me tightly. I can feel him shaking. I want to be here. I want to be here with you. I squeeze Meredith, trying to ignore the fact that I'm actually hugging Mr. Jin, who earlier tried to murder me, and in fact stabbed what he thought was me with a knife, and made that version of me bleed out. No, this isn't him. This is Meredith. This is her in my arms. These are her arms around me. This is her body, racked with sobs, hugging me close. You are with me, I tell her. You always will be. I feel added pressure to the side. My dirt golem has joined the hug. She stares at me, emotionless. I don't say anything, but she has successfully made this moment even more awkward. Kudos me. Meredith finally straightens up and wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. Snot runs out of her nose. Always, she whispers, looking down at the two of me. Thank you for being my friend. My mouth twitches in one of those half smiles for just a second. Thank you for being mine. When we finally step back out of Madame Wendy's trailer, the fairground is alive and bustling. No customers yet, just the carnival people getting everything set up for another day and night of festivities. The dew that collected on the field overnight has turned to mist and coils around everything, like Dumas' black fog, only white. Speaking of which, I wonder what happened with the police being called in regard to Duma nearly ripping a man's tongue out of his head, or the disappearance of Felix Clay and Mr. Jin. Then I realize I don't even know what day it is or how much time has passed. Are they missing me at the foster center? Is there one of those police APB things out on me? Duma takes each of us aside privately. First, he talks to Meredith. I don't know what he tells her, and I can't read it on the face of dead Mr. Jin. She spends most of the conversation looking at Felix's gun that was handed back to her, but at one point, she looks up at me. She can't seem to hold eye contact, though, and quickly looks down again. When it's Dirt Lily's turn, she spends the conversation with her arms crossed and a frown on her face. I know what she's thinking, that it's not fair that she has to die. But really, she should be grateful that she got to live to begin with. I know from her perspective, she's always been alive, just as from my perspective, I've always been the living one. I can't imagine being told that I was only brought to life hours ago, and everything I remember is someone else's memories. Then comes my turn. Lily, says Duma, as we walk behind Madame Wendy's trailer. I I'm sorry, okay. We pride ourselves on being so above everything, without fear, but we're not above it. And we're not without fear. This is a terrible pep talk. I'll leave the pep talk to Pashar. I can only ruminate on the facts. The fact is, there are things in the veil that were locked away because even in dreams, they posed a danger. Now, they are here. They could be watching us. As I say this, I look around, but we're alone. Off in the distance, I can just make out Dirt Lily, busying herself with the claw machine. She doesn't have any quarters, so I can only imagine what she's doing. Probably what I would be doing, pursing her lips and fidgeting with the machine's joystick. Dumas continues, If I could, I would have marked Mr. Dutch as my totem bearer. Then I could help you even from beyond the veil, but the risk is too great, and the totem system is flawed. Don't I know it? You find them. Dumas points at me, then at himself. I will reap them. I will tear this new flesh off them and scatter their essences across the void like ashes. What about her? I nod in my dirt golem's direction. Will it hurt when... No, you won't feel a thing. That's the most I get in the way of comfort from our conversation. It's another half hour before Detective Guthrie finally arrives. Or maybe it's 10 minutes. I'm a real bad judge of time after so much of it spent in the veil. I don't notice him at first. He's just another shadow of a person in the fog. But I quickly realize it's him when I notice how cautious he is in his approach. Other, regular folk just walk by with barely a glance in my golem's direction. But not Guthrie. His right arm is outstretched away from his body, and he's got his standard issue police pistol in his hand. Silently, he approaches the little girl fumbling with the claw machine, unaware that another set of eyes watches him from nearby in the cab of a rusty, beat-up pickup truck. My eyes. Well, mine and Mr. Dutch. Are you scared? Asks Mr. Dutch. I watch the tall shadow of Detective Guthrie. Yes, but I'm also tired of being scared all the time. At least you know there's something more. My new guardian tries his best to give me comfort. He's going to have a lot to learn, and it's going to be me that has to teach it all to him. My biggest fear has always been that when I die, there'd be nothing. You know, that's it. End of story. But you, and this, all of this, it's given me something I never realized I'd lost. Hope. Off in the distance, Dirt Lily turns. Guthrie must have called out to her, or maybe she just knew. I don't know how much of me is truly in there. Would I have turned without his voice? Would I have the strength to turn knowing that my death was waiting for me? I feel like I would keep tugging on that joystick, trying to make the claw machine work, even though I knew it's not made of magic. What's different about her? She is me, and yet she's not. Guthrie holsters his gun and opens his arms. She goes to him. I wonder what he's saying to her. Maybe he's giving her a lecture on running away. Maybe he's telling her how much trouble she's in. Maybe, just maybe, he's telling her that it's going to be all right. It's going to be okay, Lily. Let me get you home. I look at Mr. Dutch. His eyes are glued on the events unfolding in front of us. Personally, I don't want to watch what happens next. Have you ever killed someone? I ask. His eyes take on that distant, faraway look where he's not seeing Guthrie and Dirt Lily anymore. He's seeing something from his past. Yeah, I've killed people. He doesn't elaborate. I don't press him for more information. In my meatball, the angel radio static clears, and I see everything. His tours of duty. In a country called Vietnam. The flashes of faces at night with flares overhead. Explosions. So many explosions. In the nights he's woken up alone, drenched in sweat. Madwhip? Jin's voice breaks the silence of the increasingly foggy morning. I instinctively look up at hearing someone call my name. Meredith comes out of her hiding spot between several nearby game booths. She raises the gun. My dirt golem turns to meet her fate. Guthrie hesitates, confused. I feel my heart race. Don't do it, Guthrie. Don't try to save me. The flash and the crack of the gun are simultaneous. I recall a vision I had earlier at the fair. I see part of it come true as the bullet shears away a section of other Emmy's face. I don't see it clearly, just the dark spray of blood and other stuff. One shot, right in the head. Not bad for a ghost in the body of a twice decapitated dead man who's never fired a gun before. No, Guthrie shouts. He drops and rolls like a professional, drawing his gun and unloading it into Jin's corpse. There's a dozen loud pops as Meredith does her best to pretend it hurts. After the last shot, she drops like a sack of potatoes without a dramatic flourish like cowboys do in cowboy movies. Guthrie rushes over and kicks the gun away, then reloads his pistol and sweeps around, searching the area for anyone else. Eventually, he runs back to my body and starts cradling it in his arms. Oh God, somebody help! Sorry, Guthrie, I whisper, but Lily Madwhip must die. Other people are already running to the scene. They crowd around the detective and the two bodies like seagulls fighting over a scrap of bread. I wish they'd move so I can see. I didn't want to watch, but now I can't look away. No, forget that. This is morbid. Let's get out of here before we're noticed. Dutch turns the engine over in his pickup. The vehicle looks like a piece of shit, but that much seems to be in decent shape. He backs us out slowly, quietly, with the headlights off, trying not to draw attention. Ahead of us, the dark shapes of the people melt into the fog. Goodbye, Guthrie. Goodbye, Dirt Lily. Goodbye, Meredith. A lone shadow stands closer than the rest. He watches us go, his head concealed by his thick robe. He raises one hand before he too vanishes into the gray. We merge onto the highway and leave Topsfield behind us. Dutch tries turning on the radio, but the antenna must be busted because the reception is terrible. Ultimately, he decides to turn it off and starts singing a song to himself about whether or not someone has ever seen rain. I sit quietly and ponder where in the world you'd have to live to have never seen rain. Even the desert sees rain, maybe somewhere really cold like Antarctica, where all they get is snow. I wonder if Dutch knows another song called Do You Live in Antarctica? It's an hour later, and we stop at a gas station in a town called Shrewsbury. Dutch pulls a wad of dollar bills out of his back pocket and thumbs through them. After counting them to himself, there were 33. He looks at me with a hint of embarrassment and says, I'll be right back. He gets out and walks toward the little store by the pumps. Sir Francis, I call, leaning across the cab to talk to him through the open window. He turns. Yeah, buy 3 of those scratch-off lottery tickets with the little hot air balloons on them. He does a half double take. That's where you start to do a double take, but then realize the person you're talking to can see the future and is in cahoots with angels, and you should probably do what they say. Yes, ma'am. He walks in, the door ringing its little bell as he opens it, leaving me to think about how many shrews have to be buried in one place before they name the entire town Shrewsbury. $2,500 is a lot of money. We'll need it to get by. For starters, I'll need some new clothes. I've been wearing these for at least a couple days now. They're peed in and probably covered in enough criminal evidence to put me away for life. I pop the glove box. Inside, I find the usual junk, as well as a small spiral notepad and a barely functioning ballpoint pen attached to a broken chain with the name of a bank on it. I use it to practice my new signature, Alexandra Maverick. I write it a dozen times, filling the page while I wait for Dutch to return.